standing at Synergy's Alamitos oil field, where they have the ability to pump some 6,000 barrels a day. Right now, get this, they're only pumping 100 barrels a day. And that's left Californians with not only the highest prices at the pump around the country, but also the highest prices to keep their lights on.
California oil production and just so much upside. It's here today. Tomorrow, he could turn on a drilling rig, drill down and add tens of thousands of barrels a day of oil production right here in LA.
California imports 75% of its oil. The state has become an energy island thanks to a lack of pipelines and the special blend required in the state that can be produced abroad. One way to reduce dependence on foreign oil is to ramp up production here in Long Beach. Last fall, California lost one of the state's largest producers when Phillips shut down their refinery just a few miles north of here. And Valero is set to shut down its Northern California refinery this month. And together, the refineries accounted for 17% of the state's gas.
And for 5 years, published energy scenarios going forward, none of which had any relevance to reality. They were all just based on climate ambitions, politics, local domestic politics, do whatever you want. If the European industrial powers want to continue to become forward industrial powers, that's your choice. I don't think it's a great choice, but that is your choice. But that is politics. That's not relevant to the global energy system or to better people's lives. We need to have the IEA focused on energy data and bettering lives. Every report has a net zero 2050 case in it. There is a 0.0 chance of the world hitting net zero 2050. 0.0%.
Well, the focus of the Secretary's visit today was to call out California and encourage more oil production here.
Gas prices, they remain a major concern for Californians tonight, and pressure at the pump could only get worse as the state pushes forward with aggressive clean energy goals. Experts warn the transition away from fossil fuels won't be simple and likely won't be cheap. Lawmakers are now grappling with how to move away from oil without hitting consumers even harder. Now, concerns are growing after back-to-back refinery closures. We know that Phillips 66 in Los Angeles and then Valero and Benicia, facilities that experts say produced about 20% of California's gasoline supply. That leaves just 7 major refineries operating in the entire state.
Not collapse one energy system before the next one is built. You cannot punish working families into a transition.
In my opinion, I think the feds are looking to basically take over with executive orders oil production in California. California has restricted its own ability to produce energy. Big oil, big gas, oil, whatever it is, jet fuel, propane, diesel. They've restricted it so badly that it's basically left the entire West Coast completely exposed. If there was some kind of war, if there was some kind of invasion, if there was some kind of deal where can't bring in supplies of whatever we need, jet fuel would be a great one because there's 40-something military installations in California, let alone the rest of the West Coast. And if California is dependent upon importing most of its gas products, which it is now because it's only got 7 refineries left, they're closing left and right. Do the Fed step in and say, hey, you had your chance, you blew it. Here's what we're doing. Yep. And let me show you why. Let's get into it. Here we go. This happened yesterday. Energy Secretary Chris Wright warns California's energy crisis under Newsom could threaten national security. We're not talking about, hey, you got some high gas prices there. Therefore, we're going to come in and we're going to help out the people of California by increasing your oil production domestically in California so that those gasoline prices can come down. Not talking about that. It's talking about it from the standpoint of national security. And we have heard that before because it's not, it doesn't take a genius to figure out that if you're importing all of your oil products, including your jet fuel for military planes, jets, and you take away the ability to put those in the air because all of a sudden you don't have the ability to get that jet fuel imported to your state, then you are wildly, wildly exposed. It's just, it's a no-brainer, right? It's a no-brainer. California has the highest gas prices in the country at $5.93 per gallon. The diesel went over what, $8? I mean, just insanity. And this is driven by policy. That is the huge differential. This is not because of what's happening in Iran with the Strait of Hormuz. That has further exacerbated California's gas price problem, but it didn't start there. It just makes it worse. Just like my state, Washington State, it makes it worse. We've got this terrible, terrible Climate Commitment Act, right? There was supposed to be pennies on the dollar per gallon of gas, and it's not. It's like dollars. It's one of those things. Jay Inslee just flat out lied to us and said, well, if I make a prediction, or just a bunch of gibberish political nonsense. So what's happened in Iran has made things worse, made things more expensive, but they were already expensive, is my point. And in California, so we're not even going after that. We're going after national security. Energy Secretary Chris Wright warned that California's insufficient energy production could pose a national security risk as President Donald Trump moves to reduce the state's dependence on foreign oil. I think that is a brilliant idea. And you know what's going to happen is Newsom's not going to do anything. He's already lobbing nonsense back and forth on X. To Trump and to the energy secretary saying, hey, don't take us back to the Stone Age. Well, last I checked, we didn't have, combustion engines in the Stone Age. Fred Flintstone, he ran with his little golf cart, right? He literally jogged, and he and Barney, and they just hung out. Wright criticized California politicians, including Governor Gavin Newsom, for making California an energy-starved island, 100%, because that's what it is. And you don't need to have that scenario because you got 1.8 barrels, 1.8 billion barrels of known oil underneath the ground or offshore in California. You've got massive oil reserves, but because of this virtue signaling of clean energy, which we heard, how many trillions of dollars have been spent and virtually zero, couple of % impact to, the power grid. It's a joke. It's a joke. And this idea that we're going to get away from gas fired up cars is just absolutely, it's not based in reality. It's just this ideology, and it has no business when you're actually trying to run an economy, because it just screws people who need gasoline, which is everybody. Wright criticized California politicians, Gavin Newsom, energy-starved island, by outsourcing oil and gas imports from places like Iraq and Brazil, even though resources could be developed in the state. Yeah, now we're not going to do it in state. Iraq, what do you got for us? Brazil, what do you got for us? All right, ship some over. And then something crazy happens like, I don't know, Strait of Hormuz. And then prices go up. That's literally what's happened. Or you get a fire where the oil ship containers come in at the docks, and now all of a sudden you can't bring in the jet fuel you need because you've got a national security threat on the West Coast. Sorry, guys, all the planes are grounded. We went for that clean energy. Looks like it didn't work out. All right, I'll see you in the gulag. Right? I mean, President Trump is rightfully concerned about energy security for the military operations in the state of California. That is interesting. This is also a launch pad where we should be supplying our assets across the Pacific Ocean. But by strangling California, podcaster Newsom is not only harming California, he is harming United States national security. Now, if you haven't followed the back and forth between Trump and Newsom, you don't need to. It's basically Newsom trying to be the cool kid on the block, but he's awkward because he doesn't have the ability to tweet like Trump does. Trump always has kind of this angle. Newsom is always following Trump's angle and trying to make fun of him, which just basically puts Trump at number one in the Twitter war. It just does. It's like the team that is wildly underrated going around saying, we're not going to lose. We're not going to lose. We're not going to lose. We're not going to. And what do? You end up losing because you focused on losing. That's what podcaster Newsom is doing. He is basically saying Trump is number one. He's the most powerful guy. I'm going to try and make fun of him because then the Democrats will love me even more. When I started working in California in the oil and gas industry 30 years ago, California was one of the top 3 producers of oil in the U.S. Now it's not. Now they import most of what they need. It's terrible. It's unnecessary. Wright said there's no reason for California's surging energy prices and regulations, given the state's vast natural resources. Why should California citizens pay more than 50% higher gas prices? Because you want to virtue signal how clean you are. You want to virtue signal what a good person you are. Look what we're doing for the environment. Yeah, you're not doing much there, bozo. You're just not. Look at the numbers. Look at the stats. It's like all the recycling we do just goes right in the dump, goes right in the garbage. Nobody wants to talk about that. But hey, get out your big blue bin, fill that bad boy up to the top so that the garbage man can just dump it in the garbage and then take it to the dump. Plastic, landfill. It's what we're doing. Wright said the administration is open to working with California leadership. California leadership, Gavin Newsom has already said, don't take us back to the Stone Age. It's quite clear. He needs to be able to virtue signal because otherwise his entire history as governor and whatever else he's done, mayor of San Francisco, just basically destroying California, just breaking California down 1 year in office after another with terrible policies like this, that's basically exposed the United States from a national security basis. Yep, can't get the planes in the air. I don't know. Yep. I mean, that's not exactly how it's supposed to go, is it? You're supposed to have military readiness, and that is the angle that is being taken here. And I think you're going to see more and more of this. You've got reports being written right now, like what executive orders should be done to turn around oil production in California. So that's going to have to come from the feds because California is not going to do anything. They're not going to do anything. They continue to shut down refineries. The 3 major refineries that are left in California have basically written letters. Their CEOs have written letters and said, hey, we can't be in business in California anymore if you guys don't make adjustments to what you're proposing with the cap and trade, with that whole deal, with the amount of money that we are being charged to produce oil and oil-related products in California, we can't compete with the importers. Therefore, we got to close down. What's California doing? Shrugging its shoulders. Who pays for it? The consumer. Those people that are commuting 2 hours each way into LA. Those people, it's a regressive tax. Those people that can afford it the least are paying the most. The thing that Democrats say that they care about, the working population, they care about the absolute least with this policy. It's wild. And it's wild that even a real estate guy can figure this out, right? Here's podcaster Newsom. I'm sorry, Governor Newsom. You see, I'm not even calling him New Scum because you don't have to. You just call him podcaster Newsom, and then you point out the ridiculous policy, and you're done. It speaks for itself, right? Newsom's office expressed disinterest in Wright's plans, saying in part in a statement to Fox Business, "We wish America's taxpayer-funded fossil fuel lobbyist, Chris Wright, well in his quest to drag America back to the Stone Age." Again, Fred Flintstone didn't have a gas car. So get it right there, podcaster Newsom. We hope he doesn't suffer the same fate his shilling for big oil is forcing on Americans: asthma, toxic exposure, black lung, and other devastating costs. Okay. Yeah, you've gone down the coal industry here there, guy. You described coal. So black lung, yeah, we're not really getting that anymore because we're using oil rigs to drill. We're no longer going into the mines with a pick and literally exposing the dust to our workers' lungs. We're not doing that anymore. But if you want to try and scare Americans with, oh my gosh, if we produce more oil and oil-related products, we're going to get the dreaded toxic exposure, asthma and black lung. Oh my word. Let's not drill, baby, drill anymore. You know what I mean? That's fear-mongering at its best. That is just absolutely, yeah. During Long Beach visit, Energy Secretary says lower gas prices are coming. So he went to Long Beach and basically talked to employees there. And it's my opinion that he is kind of putting out, Energy Secretary is putting out and basically saying, hey, we got some changes coming here in California, and we're going to take it from the angle of national defense. And that's how I think the feds go in, right? How about this one? President Trump to visit Nevada next week as White House touts tax agenda. He's going to visit Nevada and Arizona. Interestingly, Nevada and Arizona, Nevada gets like 88% of its oil from California. Arizona gets low 30s, I think, 33% of its oil and gas related products from California. So you got those two states. Is it a coincidence that Trump is going to Nevada and Arizona next week as the Energy Secretary throws out, hey, enough times he said, California, we want to work with you to increase your oil production. And Gavin Newsom responding with the Fred Flintstone comment, right? So is that a coincidence? I don't think so. And that's why I'm making this statement. I think the feds are going to do something. I could see Trump hates Newsom, right? Newsom hates Trump. This could be their battle. This could be one of those battles. As the Iran deal winds down, this could be that next thing for Trump to work on. California, Governor Newsom, he'll say that. It has absolutely destroyed California. Here's why. And he'll come up with those stats and he'll say, this is what we're doing to protect the American people. And he's not wrong. He'll say a bunch of stuff, right? A bunch of stuff. He'll exaggerate some stuff. Okay. All right. Because that's his style is, maximize the exposure. Just get it out there, throw it out there. Now, what he said is that this is because he's talking about tax week. Talk a lot about how his policies have benefited Americans. Now, I think he's meeting with energy officials in Nevada and also Arizona. That's my opinion. What do I know? I'm a real estate guy from Seattle, but I'm throwing it out there. I think this is a very, very solid reality that the federal government says, we got to get that up. We got to get that oil production up because you guys have effed it up so badly. Everybody's left. And now as a country, our entire left flank is left wildly exposed because you bozos are so in love with clean green energy that doesn't really exist. Doesn't exist. It's not there. Don't have it. Don't have the power grid. Sorry, boys. Sorry, girls. How about this one? We podcasted this not long ago. I think it was early this week. California gas prices are the highest in the U.S., but there's no proof of price gouging. Remember when Biden, when he was able to, put at least a couple of sentences together consecutively without having a mumble, and you're like, what's he talking about? God, what did he say? Biden was saying there's price gouging going on. You can blame the expensive gas prices in the United States because of big oil price gouging. And here we've got a 6-month investigation by CBS News California basically stating, yeah, there's no price gouging. There was none. We can't find any. None. Zero. So Democrats lied and the president lied about price gouging because at that point in time, gas prices were going to the moon. Remember when we had on the pump those little stickers that said, I did that? I've got one of those stickers on my workbench at home in my shop. It's epic. I did that. Yeah, so silly, so silly. For years, California leaders accused oil companies of price gouging. Instead, a 6-month-long CBS News California investigation revealed a complicated reality shaped by state policies, refinery closures, and global supply risks that uniquely impact California's isolated fuel market. When CBS can put this together, that is when you know things are clicking. People are putting the pieces of the puzzle together, and they are coming up with reality, which is wildly different than what podcaster Newsom, presidential candidate 2028 Newsom, is throwing out there. Because he said it too. Big oil. You know, he wanted big oil he wanted the refineries to basically, in order to level out the price spikes, because oil is a commodity, right? It goes up and it goes down, sometimes wildly based on stuff that you can't really control. But podcaster Newsom wanted the refineries and is still requiring the refineries to have these massive reserves of oil on hand to level out the supply. That's not really their job, right? And if you were producing enough, you wouldn't have the issue. And that's what this article goes on to say. So higher taxes, labor, and business costs combined with environmental programs, regulations, and the state's unique fuel blend drive up baseline prices, not price gouging. It's not that hard to figure out. So the Democrats have been doing everything they can to absolutely shut down oil production. And the feds are going the other way based on national security. They are saying, hey, we're here to help you out. We're here to help you out. Well, and then Newsom's going to say no. California's going to say no because it's got a supermajority of Democrats. And what's going to happen? Well, feds step in. That's my opinion. I think that's what happens. So what I've outlined is kind of my theory on how this is going to go, because I don't think Trump can let this one go. I think he's got to sink his teeth into absolutely confronting California and basically taking over through a number of executive orders. And I think those executive orders are being drafted, if not already completed right now. They'll be on the president's desk. He'll be taking a peek at those, and they'll have their lawyers take a look and look through and see what the odds are, and then make some calculated decisions. And then I think this is one of those battles that could happen between state and the feds. Kind of like when Greg Abbott decided, you know what? The United States border with Mexico is not only national border, it's our state border. And I am no longer willing to take 300,000 people, like December of 2023, was it? I am no longer willing to take over 300 criminal illegals coming across the border, not only into the United States, but into Texas. I say no more. And he started absolutely taking over the border and basically kicking out the feds, Customs and Border Protection, from doing their job because they weren't doing their job. This is one of those battles that will happen. But this time it'll be between Gavin Newsom, podcaster Newsom, and essentially Trump. And Trump will have the energy secretary, the mouthpiece, basically saying a lot of the stuff that's being said right now. And we'll get some supporting reports by experts. We'll talk about that, and we'll see where it goes. Maybe this doesn't happen at all, but with everything kind of lining up the way it does, I don't see how it doesn't. So that's why I did this podcast today. Make sure you're subscribed, hit that notification bell. I'll see you in the next episode. Thanks again for joining. Bye for now.